It's the Slam Dunk.
Right, after years when successive governments all moved in as one direction against a traditional cigarette and tobacco companies, New Zealand's approach to a smoke-free future lost its way. The rollout of vaping in New Zealand, so this rollout, has been an unmitigated disaster in my opinion. What was meant to be a tool to help the diehards quit has taken off as an industry in itself because we did everything we could to allow it to flourish. Our politicians, our lawmakers, our regulators allowed us to be guinea pigs once again, and we were too slow to put any barriers and checks and balances, and the industry swooped in and took advantage of our confused and weak regulatory approach. Thousands of vape stores were set up, literally overnight, meters from the schools, the gates of the schools, and the rest is history, even down the road from Lisa's place. When she became an addict, our vapes had nicotine in them at much higher levels than any other jurisdiction in the world, and calls to limit their sales to pharmacies only fell on deaf ears. And after years of cracking down against cigarettes, we stupidly opened the doors to vaping, and it has established itself on every corner and in the lives of people who never smoked before and were never going to smoke, actually. The industry couldn't have wished for it to be any more favourable if they'd tried. Lacking any leadership, thousands of youngsters in New Zealand picked up the habit. New Prime Minister Chris Luxon, remember him? He expressed concern and he promised to, quote, kick the tyres. But rather than kick the tyres, this government surprised everyone by ditching the smoke-free goals and laws that 15 years of successive governments had agreed upon and signed up to. After years of cracking down against cigarettes, we stupidly opened the doors to vaping, and it has established itself on every corner and in the lives of all these people who were never interested in the first place. And it's been revealed by RNZ, Radio New Zealand, through an excellent investigation by Guy and Espinett, that this government has agreed to set aside $216 million that it needs to pay for tax cuts for the heated tobacco products. $216 million in tax breaks for one industry and one company. RNZ reported earlier this month that Associate Health Minister, Casey Costello, who is also Customs Minister, had implemented a 50% cut to the excise tax on HTPs, where the tobacco is heated to a vapour rather than burned. Costello's office had not publicly disclosed how much that would cost the government at all, but a cabinet paper released without fanfare at all on the Health Ministry's website shows that cabinet agreed way back in May to set aside this $216 million as a contingency fund to cover the estimated lost revenue. So the excise tax cut is something that tobacco giant Philip Morris has lobbied for in the past, and the cabinet paper signed off by New Zealand First MP Costello showed it was not even clear whether the tax break would be passed on to consumers. So they give the tax break, so the company benefits, the consumers may not even get the benefit. Links between the company and New Zealand First have been highlighted by media and tobacco researchers since the party gained concessions in its coalition agreement. Now, they have these concessions with National to repeal recent changes to tobacco laws. 2 senior corporate communications positions at Philip Morris are held by people who previously held senior roles in the New Zealand First Party. Do you get it? David Broome, Chief of Staff for New Zealand First between 2014 and 17, is the External Relations Manager at Philip Morris. And Apirana Dawson, who was Director of Operations and Research in the office of Winston Peters between 13 and 17, and did the election campaigns for the party in 2014 and 17, has been, get this, Director of External Affairs and Communications at Philip Morris since January 2021. Dawson was a guest of New Zealand First Cabinet Minister Shane Jones at the swearing-in ceremony for government ministers last year, and Jones told The Stuff that he'd taken soundings from Dawson on the party's tobacco policies. How is that, folks? Does that rock your socks? Earlier this year, Costello scrapped laws that would have slashed tobacco retailers from 6,000 to 600. So it removed 95% of the nicotine from cigarettes and aimed to create a smoke-free generation by encouraging more people to use them. How is that? Now the government's looking at whether to introduce these zins, which is a bit like that sort of, you just put it into between your teeth and your gums and you just chew it. This is not sold in New Zealand, but you can bring it into New Zealand. And the track record shows it's only a matter of time before this happens. And I think we should be alarmed.
Garner.